Meanwhile, the Anglican deacon, Armine Mountain, and Reverend Charles Forrest, out of 37 burials, recorded 37 names. And this is a fashion in which the names were recorded. Margaret Ann, daughter of Michael Fannin, dairyman, late of the parish of Dalkey, County Dublin, Ireland, and of Anne by her maiden name of Flynn, his wife. Now, it says aged 11 months, but you have to refer back a little bit to Margaret, whom he's burying at that point. Aged 11 months and 27 days, died on board the ship Wandsworth of the port of Glasgow, lying at the quarantine station on the 20th and buried on the 21st of May in the year of our Lord, 1847. The witness, Michael Fannin, the father, and John Richard Hungerford. In the immediately previous recording, John Hungerford had buried his wife, and Michael Fannin had been his witness. In June, there were 505 Catholic burials with 8 names recorded. The Anglican priests conducted 120 burials with names of all of them, and many of the details just mentioned above. This type of recording went on all summer, the Anglican priests giving endless details about the people, the Catholic priests recording numbers and occasional names. In July, 63 Anglican burials, only 1 nameless. 907 burials, no names except those of a doctor and a nurse from the staff who died and were buried there. In August, 124 Anglican burials and only 11 nameless. 908 Catholic burials with no names at all, and almost the same for September and October. For baptisms, marriages, and abjurations, the Catholic priests did put down town and county names. For example, Crockintoe in County Roscommon. There were lots of people from Roscommon, but not many town names. My understanding of this is as follows. Most of the Protestant Irish, I'm guessing, were English speakers, and hence could give their information to a priest who understood them. On the other hand, the Catholic priests were faced with Irish-speaking Catholics. Of the 47 Catholic priests, only 8 were Irish or Canadian-born of Irish parents and hence could speak English. It's funny how the Irish in Quebec are identified because they speak English. Did these priests have any Irish? Of the remaining priests who came to serve as chaplains, the first few had been called because they had some English, but it proved to be pointless because evidently they were caring for people who spoke no English. Dr. Douglas had noted in his 1846 correspondence, and he put it rather inelegantly, rather more than 3/5 of them are from the south and west of Ireland, a great proportion of whom speak in no other language than Erse. And I wonder if I dare continue with the next paragraph, but you know very well I'm going to do it. They come out ignorant of everything beyond the use of the spade, and in point of intelligence and civilization are very little superior to our Indians. They are mostly poor, and their object in immigrating is to obtain labor, which they find on the public works in the United States and in this country. They are all Roman Catholics. And he goes on to speak about the children and how lively and pleasant they are. And Now, besides the priests, besides caring for people whose language they did not understand, the Catholic priests were overwhelmed by the numbers they cared for. Those French priests who had a little English were listening to an Irish accent, and that resulted in interesting interpretations. For example, somebody says he's from Leitrim, so the priests writes down Latrim. A child says, "Where are you from?" Duror. It turns out to be the Roar in Kilkenny. Tyrone gets written down in the French registers in several places, both for the orphans and in these registers here. Derone from Tyrone. Picture the poor French-Canadian priest who's faced with someone who says that his name is Michael McGarrity and his wife is McMullen from Drumreilly in County Tyrone. Unfortunately, not all the Anglicans included parish or townland names, But I'm very grateful, and I'm sure you will be too, to those who did make an effort to collect as much information as possible. I'll name a few of these, if I can pronounce them. The interesting thing is to see the number of Protestants that come from the Republic. You'd expect to find them in Antrim and Armagh and so on, O'Hull, Bally, Broad Island, Auchelby, Ralloo, Belfast, Derry, Mullybreel in Armagh, Mullybreel. The other thing is, how many of these towns or townlands still exist today? Mullybrack, Tartanagan, Sage, Tuffgilly, Dromana, Kilmaun, Ogdewey. And here, you think of a Canadian priest trying to hear the many accents of the country. Mahara from Fermanagh, Innis MacBent, Derry Vallon, Drumkeena, Mahara Cross, Galloon, Tempo, Rathmurray. And then in the Republic, there are none from Carlow, Clare, Donegal, Dublin, Galway. But you'll find in Cavan, Ashfield, Killisowen, Drum, Bashabora, Killisandra, Ballintemple. And there are several places that come up with the word temple in them. Derris in Cork, Aglish in Kerry, Castlecomer in Kilkenny, Agavoe in County Laois, which is, of course, written down as Queen's County, Kilfling and Gellingarry, or in Limerick, Clongesh in Longford, Cullen in Louth, Rathede in Mayo, and then Ballabay, Vermatras, Balabar, Carron, Donna, and Tydonnell in County Monaghan, Drumleaf in Sligo, Burris O'Kane and Clough Jordan in Tipperary, Donamore and Killagan in Wexford and Wicklow. Now, at the same time as the priests were recording these names, they were also recording names of people from England and Scotland and Germany and Denmark. As the previous speakers said, it's only after 1845 that ships of other than British registry came into the St. Lawrence, and a few German and Norwegian ships did go by in 1847. These ships normally were not stopped. I'm coming to an end. Thank you. So these are one of the things I wanted to make sure that you would see. The value in this is the number of Protestants that are coming from other parts of, coming from the Republic. And it's kind of surprising sometimes people say to you, well, how come the Protestants were leaving also? Well, if the potato goes rotten in the Catholic field, I'm pretty sure it's going rotten in the Protestant field too. Now, I'll finish off with what could turn easily into a novel. Besides these quasi-statistical information that I've given you, there is a possibility of building up a family profile. For example, the story of Robert Tweedy. And this, of course, is in the Anglican registers. The ship Broome, Captain W. White from Liverpool, was 46 days at sea, arrived at Grosse Ile on the 28th of July, spent 8 days in quarantine. There were 513 passengers on board. There had been 15 deaths at sea. There were 9 in the quarantine, meaning on board the ship at anchor, 39 in the hospital. On that same ship, there were families from Gloucestershire, notably the Hay family from Salfratton in Gloucestershire, as well as from Ireland. Now, here's Robert's story. Alicia Nancy Tweedy died on August 5th and was buried on the 6th by Bishop Mountain. Robert Tweedy, 18 months old, was buried on August 18th. Robert Tweedy, the father Tweedy, 34 years of age, from Annaglone, County Down, died on September 1st. So during that whole period, the family is on this desperate place. In October 1847, the Quebec Mercury published a list of immigrants' possessions or money left in the hands of Alexander Carlyle Buchanan, the immigration agent, 83 pounds from Robert Tweedy. So I would end with a salute to those archivists who keep real human history alive.